Middlesbrough's defeat against Leeds United was a really disappointing way to spend Tuesday night, and Michael Carrick's team will be reeling at the fact that they weren't able to capitalise on their dominance during the match. Of course, Middlesbrough are still in the playoff battle, but will that defeat against Leeds have hampered their hopes of getting into the top six? Welcome to Bonkers For Boro.
Stewie Downing then. Downing running beyond the fullback. Whips a great looking ball in. Header. Goal! Massimo Macaroni! Massimo Macaroni! Macaroni's header! And Boro have struck a stick to the heart of Dracula's boys! And it could be Eindhoven time!
Welcome back to Bonkers For Boro, everyone. And of course, we're talking about the Middlesbrough contest with Leeds United at the Riverside Stadium on Tuesday night. Middlesbrough fell to a 1-0 defeat against Daniel Farke's side, a result which put Leeds back on top of the championship table. For Middlesbrough, it was a disappointing result in terms of points gained, but with results elsewhere sort of going in their favour. Middlesbrough are still very much in the playoff mix as it stands at the moment. Now, the game was decided by one goal. It was Dan James who got the goal after just 2 minutes of the match. A ball coming in from Middlesbrough's right side, and the winger getting around Anthony Dijksteel and playing it into the box. Dan James hit it into the roof of the net to give Leeds an early lead. Middlesbrough clung on for a little bit at the start, but then they did sort of find their way back into the game, I guess, and they were able to carve out some sort of openings during the first half and in the second half as well. Middlesbrough certainly had more opportunities than Leeds. They certainly had more of the attacking intent, but Leeds did just seem to have that slightly more ruthless streak when they got into the final third. They looked a little bit more dangerous, looked a little bit more likely to make something happen when they got there. Leeds also had 2 goals disallowed. One through Tanaka, the midfielder, and one through Patrick Bamford, who came on as a substitute, scored right in front of the Red Faction, but his goal was ruled out as a result of offside. To huge cheers around the Riverside Stadium. He didn't get a particularly warm reception when he came on the pitch at the Riverside Stadium, and who can blame fans for being annoyed at that one? So, yeah, it was a disappointing night for Middlesbrough in terms of the result. Leeds will feel like they could have won in a more dominant way as a result of having those goals disallowed. But I think for Middlesbrough, I think they can feel hard done to, really. I think a defeat probably wasn't really fair. I think a draw might have been the fair result based on the balance of play. I don't think the Middlesbrough did enough to win the game necessarily. We had a lot of... You could say a lot of half chances. We did get in and around the penalty area. Leeds defended very, very well, you've got to say, particularly in that second half. They really set up a really robust defence. It was so hard to penetrate them. Finn Azaz was trying. Hayden Hackney was trying. Even Johnny Howson was breaking out of defence and trying to play balls into the attacking line. But there was just no space really for Middlesbrough to be able to get in there. There was a couple of opportunities with Delano Bergzorg in particular. He had a couple of chances in the box when they fell to him, but he sort of lashed at them a little bit, and they had 2 efforts that went pretty far wide of the goal. Just needed a little bit more composure in those moments. And I think elsewhere, I don't think Middlesbrough really... I don't think Middlesbrough really sort of threatened the goal too much. There was a lot of half chances, a lot of blocked efforts, that sort of thing. Tommy Conway had a goal disallowed in the first half. But yeah, I think in terms of the overall result, I think it was probably one that Middlesbrough can feel a little bit hard done by in terms of not being able to get a point. I think a point would have been fair because I don't think Middlesbrough were second best by a huge amount. Leeds perhaps had a little bit more quality going into the final third. But on the whole, I think Middlesbrough put in a really good performance against, frankly, a Leeds side who, on paper, are certainly a lot stronger than Middlesbrough. But when Leeds are on their game, they are, in my opinion, the best team in the Championship. They should be winning this league with the players that they've got at their disposal. I think fans of Leeds United persuasion were a little bit nervous going into it because they did a bit of a rocky patch going into the match at the Riverside, so there was a bit of anxiety on that part. But I think that early goal kind of settled them down, which was exactly what Middlesbrough didn't want to happen. And for Leeds, now that they're top of the table, they'll be hoping that they can kick on and get some good results over the next few weeks to really consolidate that place in the top two. Of course, Sheffield United and Burnley, they've both got to play each other in these next few weeks as well. So Leeds will be hoping to kick on. But of course, we're here to talk about Middlesbrough's hopes of getting into the playoffs. So I think if you look at the championship table, you can see very much that Middlesbrough are very much still in the hunt for the playoffs. It was a defeat, but it was a defeat that I sort of thought before going into the match with Leeds, given our results against Oxford and Blackburn, we did have a little bit of grace going into this one. This was a little bit of a free swing, in my opinion. I don't think Middlesbrough needed to win this game. I don't think we necessarily needed to get a point. I think it would have been helpful, but I think it was a game where, given the results that we've picked up in the last few weeks, I think we could sort of get away with this one. At the time of recording, so I'm recording this on Wednesday morning, Middlesbrough 6th in the championship table. Still clinging onto that top 6 position. Coventry City, one of Middlesbrough's playoff rivals, I guess. They're going to be in action tonight, playing Portsmouth. So a victory for them would see them overtake Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough would drop out of the playoff places. So Middlesbrough are still very much in the mix. It's all very, very tight in terms of challenging for those places in the top 6. And it's also sort of opened up a little bit more, because what we've seen is that Millwall and Watford have both sort of caught up a little bit. So that now this sort of cluster of 4 teams who were chasing those 2 playoff places are probably looking at 6 teams who are going to be chasing them. And that's going to be really exciting going into the next few weeks, particularly for Middlesbrough, going into this weekend when we've got a trip to the Den to look forward to when we face Millwall. That's going to take on real significance, with Millwall now very much part of that playoff picture. But going into the match against Leeds, Middlesbrough were very, on paper, we had a lot more opportunities than Leeds United in terms of our individual performances. There were some really strong displays. I thought Samuel Illing Jr. was brilliant on the left side. He showed real intent to get forward. He was a player who offered real width. He was driving the ball into the penalty area and really trying to carve out openings. He was also strong defensively. He did really, really well against Dan James and against Manor Solomon, who was playing on the other flank as well. He had a really strong game. I thought he was probably one of Middlesbrough's best performers over the course of the game. Central defence, I think Middlesbrough coped reasonably well with Leeds' attack. It was a difficult one because Leeds do just have so much quality. Johnny Howson, he put in another good performance. It perhaps wasn't quite as dominant as what we'd seen against Oxford and Blackburn, but of course you're dealing with a completely different calibre of opponent. Anthony Dijksteel, he did struggle a little bit on that right-hand side. I think for me, this is the sort of game where Dijksteel does get caught out a little bit. I think when you're playing against a more average championship side, I think he can look good and he can look strong. But I think when he comes up against top quality wingers and just raw pace, people like Dan James, I do think that he is someone who kind of comes up a cropper a little bit. And I think that's probably why, given his future at the club, I'll probably do a video on this at some point soon. But I think that's why probably Middlesbrough will be looking to upgrade on him at right back in the coming transfer window. Hayden Hackney and Aidan Morris, they were good. They competed. They battled hard. It was a tough night for them with a really robust Leeds United midfield. Moving into the final third, I think Delano Bergzal looked right. He looked to try and make things happen. He got into the penalty area. He had a couple of good opportunities, which I think he should have probably done better. It could have really changed the game had he put one of those opportunities away in the second half. But he did try really hard. He looked to get on the ball and he ran at the defenders to try and cause some kind of chaos. Finn Azaz, he was playing off the left side. He was really trying very hard to try and penetrate that Leeds defence with balls into the box and shots from range and that sort of thing. But I think they knew that if they could mark Finn Azaz out of the game, it would sort of nullify Middlesbrough's threat a little bit. He still did well. He was still able to pull some strings, but I just think there wasn't really the openings for him to be able to carve out a clear-cut opportunity for himself or for Tommy Conway or Iheanacho, really. So it was a frustrating game, I guess, from his point of view. Iheanacho, a frustrating game for him, I'd say. I think after his performance against Oxford and his performance against Blackburn, when he got a couple of assists, I think people were kind of hoping that maybe this could be the sort of game where he really stepped it up and showed his pedigree as a former Premier League player. But he didn't really do that. There wasn't really a lot on offer from him. He had one opportunity in the first half, which he put over the top of the crossbar by some distance. He was substituted off in the second half to ironic cheers from the Middlesbrough fans, which is never a good position to be in. And he was replaced by Marcus Force. So it was a disappointing night for him. He was pretty ineffective. Tommy Conway, he worked hard in attack, but again he was pretty ineffective as well. To be honest, I think he was coming up against a better caliber of defender. He didn't have the same sort of opportunities and space to work in, but he did work hard. He did try and put Leeds' defence under pressure, and the goalkeeper Carl Darlow under pressure as well. And in the first half in particular, they had a couple of nervy moments at the back as a result of Tommy Conway's pressing. So he certainly worked hard and tried his best, but there wasn't really a huge amount there in terms of clear-cut openings for him. So I think for Middlesbrough, it was a difficult night against a team who, as I said, on paper are undoubtedly the best team in the Championship, but I think the fact that Middlesbrough have ended the night still in the top six is a real positive, and I think you've just really got to look forward to the next few weeks and see what Middlesbrough are capable of doing. As I said before, still in the top six as it stands at the moment. Could drop out if Coventry get a victory over Portsmouth on Wednesday night, but still very much in that mix. And we've got a favourable run of games now. Millwall this weekend is going to be a difficult one. They're a team who, as I said, are back firmly in the playoff picture. So that's going to be interesting because they'll be well up for that. And a victory for them will put them right in that playoff mix, which will be very, very interesting. After that, Middlesbrough have got Plymouth Argyle. We've got Sheffield Wednesday after that as well. I think it's Norwich City after that game, and then the final game of the season is the match against Coventry City, which is the last game of the regular season. So it's going to be a really, really interesting few weeks for Middlesbrough. Really, it's really boring to say, but you've just got to kind of take it game by game, because it's no team in that hunting pack are particularly good. Every team are going to lose matches between now and the end of the season, including Middlesbrough. And it's just really a case of just taking it game by game and trying to pick up the points that you possibly can. There's so many teams vying for those two spots, and there's no way of predicting, even at this point, whether Middlesbrough will get in there. At the moment, Bristol City are the sort of informed team, the side that are looking most capable, I guess, of securing that top six spot. But we've seen it in the last week or so that Coventry had fallen away. They lost a little bit for Middlesbrough. Obviously, we've had our positive runs, but then this defeat against Leeds has sort of halted that. So it's going to be a really, really interesting few weeks as far as the other playoff picture is concerned. But for me, I'm not too worried. I think I saw enough in that performance against Leeds United to suggest that Middlesbrough have what it takes to keep battling right until the end. And there's a couple of winnable games between now and the end of the season. There's a couple of, I guess, playoff 6-pointers, you could say, with the other matches against Millwall and then Coventry that will be coming up. So there's certainly big opportunities for Middlesbrough to get some big points under their belt if they choose to. In terms of expectation, I'm not really expecting much from Middlesbrough. I think although things have improved over the last few weeks, the Middlesbrough are now back in a really good position in terms of getting into the top six. I still don't quite trust this Middlesbrough team entirely. I don't quite trust that they'll be able to get those results between now and the end of the season. I'm happy to be proven wrong, and of course I want them to do that, but it's almost quite refreshing. I am sort of taking it game by game. I'm not getting carried away. There's no expectation or demands or pressure from my point of view. I think the fact that we fell away, that was what alleviated all pressure for me in terms of getting into the playoffs. If we do get into the top six now, it will be a bonus considering how poor this season has still been. I don't think you can rewrite it and say that it's been a good season if we finish 7th, or even if we finish 6th. I don't think it's been a particularly good season, but the fact that we're still in and amongst the playoff picture is good. It's something that is a bit of a blessing after a difficult campaign. And I think for Middlesbrough, it's just a case of taking it game by game, picking up the points that we need to, and then hopefully come the end of the season, we come out of the sort of tumble dryer of teams who are battling for those top 6 places. I'm hoping that Middlesbrough will be one of the two teams who are challenging for 5th and 6th place. Sunderland have got 4th spot pretty much wrapped up. There's that 3-way battle at the top between Leeds, Sheffield United and Burnley. One of those teams is going to land in the playoffs, and they won't be wanting to do just that. But for Middlesbrough, very much a case of battling for those 2 places. I think it's not 4 teams now. I think it's 6 teams who are battling for those places with Millwall and Watford sort of coming good in the last few weeks. So it's going to be a very, very interesting end to the championship season. So I want to know what you think. I want to know what you think about Middlesbrough's hopes of getting into the playoff places. Are we still on track to do so? Has that defeat against Leeds really hampered our hopes of getting in there? Was it a match that we needed to win? Drop into the comments below. Let me know what you think about Middlesbrough's performance against Leeds United. I mean, if you have enjoyed this video, please do hit subscribe as well. Your support is very much appreciated. And there'll be a lot more videos coming up very soon. So I will catch you later.